I was on a call yesterday with a client, and she signed up for a whole life policy, but she had some health issues, and so her whole life was expensive. It was expensive for only $100,000, and she's paying $171 a month. And so we did that math, and I'm like, I think you're gonna live another 40 years at least, because she's in her early 40s. So we went to the interest calculator that's on, Google. When you Google interest calculator, and we put initial investment $171, monthly investment of $171, and expected interest return 10%, which, some years you're going to have 20, 25, and then some years you might have 8 or 6. And then the variable, I just put it at 2, which, saying some years going to be 8, some years going to be 12. And then the length of time that you're going to invest it, put 40 years. Roy say, based on the compound interest, she'll have like $950,000. Whereas that 171 a month for 40 years came out to like 85,000, something like that. And then the policy is 100,000. So they will have grown that money to 900. The insurance company will have grown that money to 950K in those 40 years, but her kids will only get 100,000 when she passes. And then she could live 50 years. You know how people, black women, they have long life expectancy. So she could touch 90.
Yeah.
Because she don't have like a terminal illness or anything like that. It's just like in her, kind of like carpal tunnel type situation, or, fibromyalgia or something like that. But it's like, she probably could live. And so that right there got me thinking. When I looked at that, I'm like, hold on. I don't plan on going nowhere in the next 40 years. So I need to find somewhere I'm putting $171 a month into something that's going to grow, on average 10% a year, and make sure I'm being consistent myself.
Yeah.
And so that hit me. And honestly, bro, that's what I've been finding, even just with people I talk to from our audience and things like that. It seems like everybody want to learn more about finance and more about what to do with their money, how to be responsible, more about creating a second stream of income, investing, things of that, like getting things in order, getting life insurance. So I've been helping my people sign up for life insurance so that you don't have to do the GoFundMe. Your kids won't have to do a GoFundMe, or your family, or what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important, bro. It's certainly important. I was so proud. My little cousin hit me up. He just turned 18, and he's out of high school now, working. Excuse me. And he wants to go into trades. And he asked me the other day about a credit card. He's like, man, I want to build my credit. Like, where should I start? And so I think that's the cool part of living in the digital age, is that we have more access to more information, more knowledge. And there are a lot of people that are taking advantage of it, I think that's and then also, bro, like, we just in a time where, especially in the US, man, like, our poorest of the poor in comparison to other countries, man, like, got it made in a way, like, so for those who have a job and they work in, like, yeah, it is tough in a way, but like, we're still blessed to live in this land, just to have the opportunities that we have. And especially married with the digital age, okay, you work a job, but then you can also do Uber Eats, or you can go do a courier service on the side, or like, just opportunities to make different money if you want to,
Right.
And so, yeah, bro, what a time to be alive, man.
Right. That's what I'm like, man. We got to figure it out. We got to figure it out. So
Yeah.
yeah, bro, what's on your heart this here? When what's the day?
Wednesday.
Yeah,
Is it
man. What
Wednesday?
have you been pondering on this week?
Yeah, man. I've been last episode was an interesting one, man. Just really made me think a lot deeper. And we had some people email in, and one that stood out was from a young man. I'm saying young man, he older than me. But anyway, he wrote in and he said, "Hey Caleb, love the show. Been watching from the beginning and love what you and Tony have been doing. Would love to get an episode on how men can be better as men and finding their purpose and becoming men of God. Right now, I'm in the process of trying to transition from being in the street selling drugs and being your so-called grown boy. Looking for healthy ways of being a better man and getting that blueprint from healthy men. Would love to hear you guys' perspective. I'm a 33-year-old man
Wow, okay. 33 in the streets
trying to transition out."
trying to transition. And man, that sounds like one of them fake emails right there. When people be like, y'all made that email up and sent that to yourself. But that's a real story though. And I'm like, no, who would make that up? But I guess some people do.
Yeah.
And so now what would you say to that, bro? Like what would be your, as you process it, what would be your first step? If you could only give him one step, what would be that first step?
Yeah. Man, the first step I would say is really get to know God for yourself. Really, there's so much other stuff I want to say and will give, but that's the first thing. As somebody who's done life without God and also with God, man, that's it. Nothing else matters until you align your foundation with God. So that would be the first thing that I would say, man. Like really plug into the word, like read the Bible. We got the internet today. If you don't have a church, like listen to sermons of pastors, I like to listen to Dr. Myles Munroe, God rest his soul. I would just really understand God first and then build from there, So I'll start with that. I got more that I'll say, but I want to hear your perspective.
And that's a powerful one. I think that a lot of times we get lost in that, when we try to get to know God, because it's a big thing. God is big in the sense of like really connecting with the spirit for yourself and understanding the word and then applying it to your life. So what I try to think of is, in addition to what you said, because that is step one, is if you could design your job, like if you sit down and you design your job, like what you do on a day-to-day basis, what would that look like? And then create the plan to get that. And so what I found is that every single thing that we can dream of, people are making money from it. Like it's some way that people are making money from it. So and I have to do this practice with myself, and I'm like, okay, Tony, when it comes to purpose, what is purpose? I believe purpose is serving. And ultimately it's serving for Christ, but it's serving. And then the next question is, okay, how do you want to serve? And for me, it would be to serve the masses by disseminating messages to the masses that will elevate their lifestyle, elevate their life, change their life, versus too many one-on-one interactions, too many person to person, in the sense of, I struggle with dealing with different spirits and personalities. I rather just put the message out there and let who is for be who is for. And then don't get caught up in the minutia of like the comments and stuff, how people feel about it. So really like getting down to that core, I feel like would be the key. And I just think that for a lot of people, they feel things are out of reach. But I built everything that I have in my life with God and Google. Like just God and Google. And I've never had a mentor. Like how you met me, you hit me up. I never had anybody that I hit up and then I could like know for years. I did that to like one guy, and it probably lasted, and it was in the film space, and it probably lasted 6 months, bro.
Mm.
to where he tried to like sun me. Like imagine this. Imagine you hit me, right? And you say, hey, Tony, what you think about this? What you think about this idea? And I say, Caleb, you are nothing. You are nothing to me. You are not on my level. You are a nobody and you
Wow.
have done nothing. Caleb, don't ever call my phone and give me a business proposition again. Like, how would you feel? How would you feel? Like, not even
Yeah.
like what you would say, but how would you
Yeah.
feel?
That crushes soul, man. Especially you look up to somebody, you know what I'm saying? It's a level of respect that you giving them, and it's a form of submission. And for them to speak to you that way, that'll crush a man's spirit, you know. And that sound very Hollywood. I could that sound like somebody that's in the industry. That's that just sound like that whole pathway in that industry. I've heard people treat people, but yeah, man, that'll crush somebody's soul. So I get that. And I think that's why some men, especially men who maybe didn't grow up with fathers, they fear having a conversation with older men, or they don't know how to have it. And then if you do have a conversation and go that way, it's tough, but to go with along with what you said about God and Google, that's kind of like my same method in my life. Like, I think self-education is important, so some practical tips that I would say to start with the Bible, educating yourself. In the mornings, I would start off by reading a chapter of Proverbs and then go on to Psalms, right? Just as a nice foundation to introduce you, to the word. And then at nighttime, I would start with the Gospels. I would start with Matthew, and I would read a chapter a night in Matthew so you can really understand who Jesus is, and get a foundation of the core of the gospel. And then, from there, I would bounce back and forth between the Old and New Testament. But I think that's a good foundation. But to what Tony said about, God and Google, like, man, we live in a beautiful time to where we got YouTube University, like Google things, if you in the streets and you trying to find a way out, you got the hustle in you, you got the motivation in you, you got the willpower to take risk, transition into something that's not going to be as risky in the sense that's going to cost you your life and time. I personally believe if I were in your position, I would find an essential business like within the trades. I would go and start a cleaning business. I would go start a lawn care company. I would go back to school and learn HVAC and plumbing. I would go learn something that I know within 2 years would make me six figures, and it's something that is needed. It's a demand. It's essential, to have. You show that you got the hustle. I would say start there, and then lastly, before I give it back to Tony, like, I think you really got to be at a place where you really want to let the streets go, because it's so alluring. It's a spirit on it, right? And that's how many of our young brothers get stuck in it, because that's all that they see. That's all that they listen to in the music that they hear. If you on Instagram and you following guys that's in that same lane, you got to unplug from all of that, and that's hard. You really got to get to a point to where you really want to turn your back on it totally and have a change of heart. So that's why I said it's important to start with God. You got the work ethic, but you need new knowledge in your mind. But you got to first like deprogram yourself. So, I would get off social media. If you smoke or drink, I would get sober, and I would plug into YouTube videos every day about business, and I'll drop some video, some books that I would recommend too. I would read The Personal MBA. I would read Understanding the Purpose and Power of Men by Myles Munroe. I would read Atomic Habits by James Clear. I would so just so many other, and I don't know if I said personal MBA, but I'll put a list. But you got to get new knowledge and just turn away from that old pattern and behavior and really be serious, because a lot of people talk about wanting change, but a lot of people don't want to change themselves. Like, you really gotta like want to change. But Tony, I know that you had a stint when you was in the streets, bro. Like, how hard was it for you? Because I know you had a phase where you went back to the streets. Like, I've been close to the streets. I've never been in the streets, but I got people that I love that are in that life. Like, how hard is it, bro? Like, trying to let that lifestyle go and that fast money.
It's hard because it's really it's also a high. It's a high, it's a thrill. And I think a lot of guys, a lot of times we don't want to admit that. We don't want to admit that it's also a cool way to make money. And it comes with a certain look and
Yeah.
a certain feel. And it's a certain edge that you develop. And it feels different when you have a gun in your lap, or a gun under your pillow, a gun in the dash, in your in dash and in your door handle, and you moving like that, and you kind of stealthy, and you in and out, and you thinking just like cat and mouse, like, how do I beat the law? How do I get ahead? How do I make money? How do I market this? How do I know that I can trust this person that's buying from me? How do I not get robbed? So it's a lot of brain work, and it's really, when you understand it, that's how I work alone. Like, a lot of people don't understand, like, Tony, how do you run 40 plus email addresses and you don't have a staff, and you have 3.5 million followers online, and you run all your social media yourself? People ask me that, like, and some people tell me like they thought I had like 10 staff, like a team of 10, or they thought this and that, and I'm like, no, I do everything myself. But I realized that all the brain power it takes to beat the law and to stay alive when you're in the streets, that can be transitioned to making money legally and doing it the right way. And I think that what we have to do is, you got to look at your fingerprint, meaning your blueprint, understanding that your mind works different than everyone else's mind. So you may have fond memories of working with your grandmother in the kitchen, and you may have an idea to take these pineapples and to cut the pineapple open, and to put the coconut rice in there, and to saute up some shrimp and different types of protein, and sell those pineapple cups, pineapple bowls, just like they might have at a restaurant, but you're doing it for the streets, and you're doing it out your food truck. So now you just a pineapple bowl man. And every day I'm coming to see you to get that pineapple with that rice and that chicken or that salmon or that shrimp. And I'm eating good, and you selling it, just doubling your money. Whatever your food cost is, you doubling it. And you may have that idea and you thinking like, nah, that can't happen. Nah, that's too much. Nah, food truck gonna cost me 30 grand. And it's always a micro to the macro. So you can find one on Facebook Marketplace for 7 grand. You can find one that doesn't, move. You just park it somewhere, and you go there, and you just doing that. Honestly, you can take, if I was in the streets today, I would think about what are the key things, and not even just the streets. If I was in a dead end job like the streets, because some people are in a dead end job that they want to transition from, what I would ask myself is, what does everybody need? Everybody needs food. Everybody needs clothes. So I either will start a t-shirt line, some t-shirt, sweats, what have you. I might buy the pressing machine, the heat machine. I might buy the vinyl cutter, and everybody always gonna lean to retail therapy. And I may have the dopest clothing brand in the city, and it's an independent clothing brand, and everybody want it. And if I don't do that, I would do simple, basic food that everybody loves, like chicken wings. And then what I would focus on is dropping the wings, and you get them naked or you get them breaded. And then what I would focus on is my sauces. I'm gonna have a chili sauce. I'm gonna have a buffalo ketchup. I'm gonna have a chipotle mayo. Like, I'll create these different sauces to where drizzling it on them wings just make it different. Yeah. Almost everybody eat wings. And then I might get a vegan wing, not a vegan or vegetarian, whatever you call it, vegan wing too. So they could come and get that too. And then throw some French fries with it. And just like that, that's how the founders of McDonald's became multi-billionaires. They just sold us burgers and fries that we could have made at the house. But it just was the fact that somebody else doing it for you. It saved you some time. It saved you some money, because you go buy all the ingredients, you done spent more. And so that's how I would be thinking. It's just simple, and creating your day and finding a need and meeting it. And while doing that, I'll be in school every Saturday getting a trade, like what you mentioned, the HVAC, the what have you. And guess what I found out, Caleb? These people be having these trades and they don't even be knowing what they doing. Like you'll have somebody come to your house to fix the AC and they would make it worse. And making 6 figures. And so I'm like, what if you actually go learn and you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
You're gonna
Yeah.
be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Because everybody know that when you come to fix their AC or you come to do their plumbing or whatever it may be, their roof or what have you, you gonna do it right. I got a young guy who does landscaping. He went to school for landscape design and, making up them plans for the landscapes and sending you the file with all the different types of plants that you need and how much and where they go at.
Yeah.
A young brother. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, that's never thought of that.
Yeah. That's where I made my first 6 figures in the tree business. It was a hard business. I was 20 when I got into it, but I used to climb trees every day and cut them down. I used to do land clearing. I used to, lay sod, and the money's there. It's hard work, but I know some, especially within our community, we look at stuff like that like, man, I don't want to do that. But for me, it was like, I'd rather do this. I don't want to risk my life, going to jail, and then the street money, the allure of it really ain't there. You might have 1 or 2, maybe 3 people in the city that's really making some money, but everybody else averaging probably around 30 to 50,000 a year is just cash money and they ain't paying no taxes on it. And then they blow it on material things to look like they got something, but
Right.
most people I done met in the streets living paycheck to paycheck. They might as well work a job,
Right.
but again, I would really just educate myself, and you got to change your mindset too about how you view your community, because if you take that energy and you transfer it into a legitimate business, you got to take that mindset from being hostile to your community to wanting to help and serve your community. Because like Tony said, you riding around with the gun, you think everybody trying to get you, somebody trying to rob you for the pack, all these different things. You got to let go of that mentality. That's why God really got to be the foundation, because you got to be renewed in your mind to be able to come back and really be able to, okay, I'm gonna serve the community. I'm gonna open a food truck. I'm gonna start a clothing line. I'm gonna go start a lawn care company or a HVAC company or plumbing. Matter of fact, last week there's a guy in my building that owns a plumbing an electrical company, and I think he said they're at like 10 million a year right now. And the play that he's doing, he started out just himself, just doing the installs, started residential plumbing and worked his way up. And then what he's doing now, he's going and he's using this program to go and acquire other plumbing, HVAC, and electrical companies. Like I think that in today's world, I think going and getting a skilled trade, something that's just essential that people gonna always need, that's and you open your own business and build it. That's the fastest way to become a millionaire today. The
You'll never go
fastest. I
broke.
gotta, lastly, I was gonna say, I got a little cousin that he graduated high school and he became an apprentice. You go to school he goes to school for electrician like 2 days a week, and then he works in the field the other 3. And I think starting out, he already making like $40,000 to $50,000 a year, and while he's in school, and so that's why, from my background, I was like, trades or just something that is a demand, like solving a problem within our community. That's the thing I think where we can come back. If all the hustlers in our community could go educate themselves through YouTube and reading books about legitimate business, how to market, how to put together a business plan and serve our community, man, like we can really get back to like having real economic power, because we got the hustle. Like, there's people out there that really want to get it. You just got to transition to something that's legitimate and long term.
Yep. And that's the thing too. I was thinking like even now lawn care, that's a bit tougher because I pay my guy 160, a month. And that's a bit tougher. But I was thinking like even with the pool guy, just if he does 5 pools a day, and he getting 500 from each client, I mean 100 from each client, that's 500 a day, and then times 5, and it's like he literally just coming in, just running the thing through my pool, dropping the little tablet in there, and he
Yep.
gone. Like it takes
Yep.
him 5 minutes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I got over 1,000 houses in my neighborhood. Like he
Yep.
really could just hit so much in a day. And my guy, he it's not like these individuals have like master's degrees or anything like that. Like it's not even about being the smartest in the world. You know, it's just about using your mind in a creative way and doing something that people need and
Yeah.
understanding that it's really there and it's really possible. So it really comes down to that mindset shift when you want to leave the streets or leave a certain job. It comes to that mindset shift of getting to the root of why you are doing what you're doing and why you are where you are. And when you really get to the root, so when I got to the root, I said, you know what? I said, I'm in the streets because I'm a lame and I'm not a real man. And then when I looked around, I said, oh, my cousin is a lame. My homeboy is a lame. And what I meant by that is afraid and insecure. I'm like, I'm like, everybody out here that I'm meeting in the streets is insecure. Everybody is scared. So I was like, that was at our root, but we mashed it with bravado,
Yeah.
machismo, ready to pull a trigger. But then when I looked and I saw guys with no tattoos, I saw guys with no gold teeth. I saw black guys, no tattoos, no gold teeth, never sold drugs. I'm like, that's a real man. He is above the fray. Like he going against the grain. Like he's not afraid. Like he's not scared. Like he's not scared of me. I got 6 gold teeth and locks and a gun. He ain't scared of me at all. He looking at me like, I see you. You scared. You
Yep.
afraid to walk in your purpose, to live your dreams, and to be your own man. And that was the conversation I had with myself. And I had to get real. And thank God for my wife because she spoke that to me in so many words. And that changed my life. And then I just took that same mindset, that same hustle, the same risk taking. Like I know my son probably blow right now that I gave him $5,000 to play with in crypto. He probably like, but that's a lot of money to a kid. He never had probably more than $1,000, maybe probably more than 500. And he's 17 years old, so he like, what in the world my dad doing right now? But when I get home, I'm gonna talk to him and I'm gonna tell him like, well, like one of my clients say who transition from the streets, you got to risk it for the biscuit. And so he was in the streets, and what he is now, he's a jeweler. He was buying so much jewelry, he was like, let me just get to the plug, let me get to the source, and now let me sell jewelry, get it wholesale, and then sell it retail. And then I got my cousin who was in the streets for 20 plus years, and he was like my OG. He now is a general contractor. He found a way to get his GC license. Went through another guy. They figured out how to best study and pass the test. Got past the test. Now he building houses. He building houses, and he has a trucking company. So he took that money, and he's been up, he's been down, he's lost money. Them trucks, they did
Yeah.
bad, then they did good, did bad again. So I say that to say you have to look at not just where you are, but where you want to go and make a plan that makes sense to you. My plan doesn't make sense to anybody else, probably. They probably look at my plan and be like, man, this don't make sense to me. This is crazy, Tony. But it makes sense to me. So therefore, I don't have to depend on anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the key, bro, having that willingness to look crazy, because the ego, like being in the streets is very ego and bravado. Or like you say, even somebody working a dead end job that they want to transition out of. Sometimes we fear more about what people are going to say about us. Like, oh man, you quit that job, or man, you left the streets and now you cutting grass. Like we care more about that. And we allow other people's validation and their thoughts to be our self-worth. But that's why I said you really got to be renewed in your mind and really surround yourself with a new crowd of people, or be willing to walk alone. On my journey, that's always been the superpower for me, is I've never been afraid to be ridiculed and to walk alone. Like, I'll take a step back and I'll play, number two role. I'll clean, and even with you, like, I knew whenever things aligned and I got an opportunity to work for you, like, I wasn't expecting to get paid for anything, though you did pay me, and you paid me very well. I was willing to do whatever you asked. If he's like, hey, bro, like, hey, can you drive and like go do this? Cool. Like, I ain't got no ego. I'm willing to drive. I'm willing to be a do boy of sorts if I have to be. And that's not, like, just for, for context, right? Like, I'm willing to do whatever. You need me to clean the toilet? All right, for sure. I got you. Like, the heart of a servant. Like, when you look at King David, like, when God calls you from where you at, he just wants to see your heart. Are you willing to be a shepherd boy? Are you willing to work in the fields? Are you willing to deliver food to your brothers that's fighting in the war? Are you willing to do the little things? And that will take you so much further than trying to, like, oh, I'm a boss too. Like, man, I ain't driving you, or man, I ain't going to pick up this or clean this. Like, who you think I am? I ain't no do boy. Like, really, like, humbling yourself. When you remove the ego, God will fill you up, and the opportunities that will come from that. Like, man, it's so much that I've kind of talked about a little bit through here that I've been able to experience through you, but it's because I was willing to serve. Like, I wasn't expecting pay from you. I wasn't expecting for you to be like, hey, bro, like, come with me on a private jet, we're gonna do this. Or, hey, bro, come here, we're gonna stay at this 5-star hotel, I want you to come with me. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I was just serving, and just God will give you those blessings whenever you have that renewal in your mind and renewal in your spirit. The opportunities will come. Just like, I think that's the big thing that I just really want to stress, is like being renewed in the mind, and let that ego go. Don't worry about what people gonna think. Be willing to be looked at as you weird, you lame, you goofy, you square, man, whatever. Like, I look back on who I used to be, and where, I've never shared this publicly, but before I met you, bro, like, I was smoking a lot of weed every single day, and I just got to the point I was just like, God, like, I want you, and I'm not proud of this, and I'm not encouraging people to do this, but I instead of smoking with my friends, I started to smoke and just go read my Bible just by myself. And I'm saying that because, like, I think a lot of people feel like, man, I gotta look like this holier than thou Christian person. Man, just start where you at, but don't. It's not about staying there, right? Whatever bad habits that you have, you got to shed them, right? But just start where you at. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't delay. Like, if you watch this video today, get in the word right now, get into YouTube right now, but let the plan be like, I don't want to continue to be this guy I am today, this time next year.
Woo, man. Hey, man, I could let you ride out, man. I could let you preach, because I'm over here. I'm like, oh man, this what it feel like when my mama be in the church shouting. I'm like, sometimes you just can't hold it in, because, man, you said some stuff, bro, that the number one thing you said, I mean, everything you said, that hit hard, but wow, but that hit hard, boy. Woo, that's deep. I have to just take that in, what you said, because the second part about smoking weed and reading your Bible, that's so powerful, because you saying start where you are. Because a lot of people, they feel like, oh, that's playing with God. But it's like, we don't know how God look at that green leaf. We don't know how God look at that, but he see you reading his word, and he knows that if that is a sin because it's against the law and you breaking the law, that his word is going to convict you. So now you've been delivered from willing, repeated, daily sin or bad choices that's not good for your body because of what you got out of the word. But you had to start somewhere. And I see so many people, a lot of guys that I know and grew up with, they're like, oh, I ain't finna play with God. I ain't finna play with God. But it's like, you can't get clean on your own.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta come to God dirty.
Yeah.
That's how you get clean. You gotta come to God not doing the right thing. That's how your life gets cleaned up. You got to
Yeah.
go into the church or go to your word flawed and broken. But the other thing you said, bro, and I really hope that you mean this, And I want you to really evaluate your heart and make sure that you mean that deeply, deeply is that humility. Man, like you said, you need me to clean the toilet? Okay, cool. I do that. Guess what, bro? That's a real job. Like, that's a real job. Like, if I hire somebody, I need help mopping the floor, sweeping the floor. Like, bro, when I come in here in this office, it's six rooms in this office. I'm the only person in here. I be in here by myself. When I come in here, I sweep and vacuum the floors. I don't have a mop up here. I need to get one. But bro, I go in and I clean the toilet. As a millionaire, I'm in there cleaning the toilet. I could call a cleaning lady, but it's like, that's $220 that I'm paying this lady that she overcharging for this little old space when I got a 6-bedroom house and pay the same thing. So she overcharging because she see I'm a young black man. She trying to get over. She like, oh, you don't deserve to be here. You know, let me hit you across the head. So I said, okay, because of your greed, you finna lose this job. I'm finna get in there and clean the toilet. I get my Lysol. I don't even know what I'm doing because I wasn't raised like that. My mom ain't make me clean like that growing up. I get my Lysol. I get that little blue stuff. I get my glove. I get my little Brillo pad. I be in there scrubbing that toilet, cleaning that toilet, dumping all kind of chemicals, about to pass out. And I paid my wife, and I ain't bashing my wife, but I paid my wife the $220, what the lady wanted. I said, baby, you'll mop these floors for me? Because I don't know how to mop floors. Like, that's not something that I grew up doing. I could figure it out. I could do it, but I don't know, like, the strategy and the technique. I'll probably get it dirty while I'm trying to clean it.
Yeah.
My wife never came up here and mopped them floors. $220 down the drain.
You might as well pay the other lady.
You see what I'm saying? And so $220 down the drain. I reminded the other day, baby, you know you never do the floors for me now. And so, but again, she tied up. She busy. So at the end of the day, you have to be willing to count on yourself, and you got to be humble enough to clean the toilet and then go into the boardroom and get on the whiteboard and present a $1 million dream, a $1 million plan.
Yeah.
And bro, everybody that I work with, other than you, and really, bro, other than you, I got a couple other guys, but a lot of times when I have somebody doing something that I would do and they on the road with me, I don't feel like they doing it genuinely. I feel like they doing it to play a role to get promoted in the business.
Yeah.
But when you did stuff, I ain't feel no kind of resentment or nothing. I ain't feel no kind of, like, if you were carrying bags, if you carrying all the bags, if you carrying the banners, if you driving for 7 hours, like, whatever you did, you worked as if you was working unto the Lord. And so, and I took my time. We done known each other for years, and we just not doing this. And I remember talking to my wife. I'm like, baby, should I do a podcast? This person asked me to collab. This person asked me to collab. This person. She said, well, if you're going to do it with anybody, I think you should do it with Caleb. She was like, he done paid dues. Like, he done showed you his character. Like, he done been there. He ain't ask you for nothing. Like, he got the same gift that you have, meaning purpose for the Lord and being able to articulate himself. You should do it with Caleb. And you know, when the wife said, it's like, that's what you finna do. And so I said, okay. And cause I don't trust people. Like, I don't trust people, and I always question people's motives, because this not something that a person should desire. The spotlight. Like, I don't desire the spotlight. That's why the Lord do not let me win the lotto when I sneak in there and get me a lotto ticket. Because the Lord know, if he let me hit that lotto, y'all not gonna see me working in my purpose no more. And I don't mean that seriously, but That be a thought. I'd be like,
Yeah.
Lord, I'm tired of serving. I'm tired of being scrutinized. I'm
Yeah.
tired of people trying to debate with me. I'm tired of going back and forth. I'm tired of everybody looking for a hole in what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being in the spotlight. I'm tired of it, Lord. Please retire me. Give me
Yeah.
something. And I honestly believe, bro, that day is coming. I pray it comes sooner than later. But I'm believing. That's why I pump out so much content, because I want the Lord to say, okay, son, you done enough. You could pass the torch. You done said everything that I had you say, that I put on your heart to say. Now your company could be worth billions, your software company, and you can just run that company. And you ain't got to be on the front line preaching and teaching no more.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it'll ever come. But bro, I say that to say, at the level that I'm at right now, which is nowhere compared to what God has shown me of where he can take me, I will still clean the toilets. I still get on the phone with people for free every day.
Yeah.
And I talk to people who can do nothing for me. All I, the whole conversation is one directional. The person is on the phone with me because of what I can do for them.
Yeah.
And I will be on the phone, bro, for 2 hours talking to somebody who can do nothing for me and really don't even have a pure and genuine heart at this level of my business, 15, 16, 17 years in. And bro, I will talk to people who want to collaborate, and I'll say, hey, we should charge this price. What? I ain't charging that. That's too cheap. I'm this, I'm that. I'm a boss. I'm this, I'm that. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa. And they ain't nowhere near where I'm at, but they too big to be a humble servant. And so, bro, I want to ride out on that right there, because that was what you said was so power packed that I don't think people got it, because everybody is broke and arrogant. And that's what we got to come out of. Be
Yeah.
broke and humble,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna be rich and humble.
Yeah. And I think it's better to let it be self-induced than God having to give you a Damascus Road experience. You know, like honestly, that's what happened to me. I had to have a Damascus Road experience before I decided to get my life right. But that don't have to be the case though. We don't have to have a diagnosis or to get shot at, have pain in our body before we want to change. And I think like when you can humble yourself and just say, you know what, God, I've done it wrong. You know, I want to turn my life back to you, like, and really doing it God's way. Like I can't stress that enough. Like that's got to be the foundation. Like, you know, to the brothers that's watching it, like, bro, like you can really transform and change your life. And I really have a heart for men. Like when we was talking about this earlier, like I started to kind of tear up because I really have a heart for for young Black men in our community. I understand like how fortunate I was to grow up the way that I did with the father, and my father instilled certain skills with me. And I can understand from my perspective looking at it, like, okay, if I grew up in a different environment, let's say I grew up in the hood and I just want to eat, and the only person I see that has like means within the hood is the man that's selling dope, like, yeah, I'm gonna go do that too. You know, it's a survival instinct. As men, we're visual creatures, so I have a heart for the brothers that's in the street and want to make it. I understand. I ain't got no judgment, but I do want to say there is a path out. Like you do have skills, you do have gifts and talents, you are worthy, brother. You know, like stay the course. You know, it's not going to be easy, but it's worth it. Like I would really just fall off the map on everything that's not serving me and serving God. You know, if you with a woman and you don't see her as your wife, cut her loose. If you hanging with homies and they're not encouraging you to do the right thing, to do better, to grow, to start that business, to get out the streets, cut them loose. Like anything that does not serve who you envision yourself to be, you got to cut loose. And it's tough. You know, like, you know, lastly, you know, when I first started my tree business, I used to go and volunteer and teach at a juvenile detention center. And when I started working with you, bro, it was crazy. Like I back then I would just go once a week and I would sit down and I would talk with them about being a man and critical thinking, just where they was at on their journey and their path. And I remember one day when I started working with you, like I just happened to be at a gas station because I'm in North Florida is where I'm from. And he happened to be from like South Florida somewhere. But I was at a gas station when I was living in South Florida. And this had probably been like 5, 6 years after the fact. And I ended up running into him. And he said, man, he said, Mr. Caleb, that's you, man. I was like, good to see you. You spoke. And then he put his head down. He said, Mr. Caleb, I'm sorry, man. He said, man, I ended up going to prison, man. I got caught up in some stuff. And I met him when he was in the juvenile detention center, but I understand how hard it is to break that environment, to say no to family, to try and be renewed in the mind. So I really got a heart for our boys. I know a lot of people give up on us, but I see the different dynamics. Everybody don't come from good environments, right? But again, like, you can change your environment, and just saying all that to say that better can happen. But whenever he saw me, he was just like, man, I'm gonna really do the right thing this time, man. He's like, I just got out, he's like, I got me a job, like, I'm gonna stay focused. Like, I've seen so many just different stories like that, where I understand it's hard to break that cycle. Everybody around you going to prison, going to jail, getting arrested, selling dope, domestic violence. Like, I get, like, the pull, you know what I'm saying? And so, man, just the brothers that watch this, man, just stay encouraged, man, but really turn your back on it, and really, like, make use of the internet. Keep plugging into us, listen to our podcast. Again, just books. I'll leave some links to different books that I would read, man. But there's hope, bro. And to just the ladies out there too, but to the fellas, man, like, I really got a heart for the young men today, man. And one more thing, bro. Not to keep going on a tangent, but I walked in to get some food this past week, and it was a young dude working behind the counter. He was probably like, I say like 17, 18. He was working by himself, and he was playing the music. And I walked in, and it said something about going to hell. I'm a demon, and something, something, something. And so I was like, man, like, I want to understand this. Like, what's really going on in the music today? And so I Shazammed it. And the name of the song was, like, I think it said, like, go straight to hell or going to hell. And I'm just like, man, like, this young brother, like, he don't even know. Like, he blind, he lost, and he pumping his music into his spirit. And I realized that he playing with demons at an early age. And so, man, I see the warfare. I see the adversary really trying to capture our men at a young age, and continue the cycle of the school to prison, the pipeline. And so, just saying all to say, man, just to close up with this
Who sang
tangent,
that
man.
song?
Just,
Who's the artist of that song? Did you remember the artist?
man, yeah, let me look it up.
It'll be in your Shazam history. Cause I'm gonna DM him,
Yeah, his
virtually
name
slap
is
him.
it's called his name is TJ21. It's straight to hell.
Yeah, I'm
But
gonna.
again, like, just when I look at him, and then I hear a lot of these rappers, I can hear the environment they was raised up in. I can hear the fatherlessness. I can hear the brokenness. I can hear, that you don't know no better. I can hear that you find your therapy and solace in smoking weed, right? Like, I can hear and see all this on these brothers.
Mhm.
Like, that's why, like, again, I grew up in a black environment, in a black neighborhood. But my parents sent me to private school at an early age. So, like, there was a lot that I didn't understand about black culture till I got to middle school. But just because of my father being in the household, there were certain things that he just didn't allow. And so I never saw the appeal or the draw to the streets. But then as I got older, and just friends that I grew up with and family members, I saw just how enamored they were with the streets. I saw somebody get out of prison and come home, and then, like, another street dude walked up to him, and he was like, yo, man, you got out, whoop de woo. And he's just like, yeah, man, I stood 10 toes down, man. I did that, whoop de woo. Like, he was like, I saw him be proud, right? But at the same time, like, I knew the genesis of this. I remember when I had to go, like, take this person to court, and they knew they weren't going to come back. They knew they were about to get locked up. I could just feel it in my spirit. I saw the brokenness in the spirit, like wanted to cry, but having to suppress it and be hard. And so I see this cycle of so many of our men stuck in this false masculinity that the streets and the world tells us makes us men. And I just want to see us come out of that, because it's affecting our women. I talked about in our last episode about, I believe men are leaders, and when we're not around, we're still leading women. We're leading them to being lost. And if we're around and we're not healthy, then we're hurting them and we're causing pain. And so that's one other thing I just want to say to the fellas is that, man, the world is not fair, and that no matter what, as a man, you are going to be held responsible, right? Like, you are the common denominator in everything, right? Like, it's nobody else's fault. The environment you come from, your parents, like, at some point in time, as a grown man who wants to be a grown man, and you tired of being a grown boy, you got to take responsibility for your actions and stop blaming daddy not being there, mama was on drugs, whatever the case. That hey, that might be the case, right? But you have the opportunity to change your life. You have the opportunity to educate yourself and to renew your mind and to change your habits and routines. It ain't nobody else's fault. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for you as a man. I hate to say that, but that's just the reality of how we view men, right? Like, you are a man. God blessed you to be a man. That is a gift. You are a leader. You got to cultivate that leader within you. You got to really change. You got to really get down to the subatomic level of your thinking and develop new patterns and behaviors. So I, just wanted to say that, man. I know I'm going on, man, but bro,
No,
I'm
no,
really
that's good,
passionate
bro.
about our
No, that's
men.
good. And you know what? We're gonna have to do another episode for the men, just men specifically for the young boys, because just like you were saying with Buddy in the restaurant listening to that song, I know that song might be on my son playlist, and they just be playing the stuff and they don't think about it and they don't realize, like, that's why you feel like that's why you annoyed with your mom when she asks you to clean your room.
Yeah.
That's why you annoyed with your teacher when they ask you, is your homework done? That's why you cursing your dad out in your head when he said something to you. That's why you feeling depressed. That's why you sick and got all that mucus in your body. And just because that's why you can't sleep good, because you got the AirPods in your ear and you're listening to this demon music while you're trying to sleep. That's why your grades slipping.
Yeah.
That's why you're arguing with your girlfriend. It's like a lot of times we don't understand that everything affects everything and that the input determines the output. And in
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar quote, the input determines the output and your output determines your income. And we don't understand that because we'll take and listen to this stuff and it becomes a blueprint for our life because we look like the person we listening to. And they got more money than us, they got more fame than us, so we feel like they know better than us. So we will actually listen to them. Whereas someone of another race will look at that same artist as a character, like a
Yeah.
caricature in a game. They would look at the person as like a dummy and they would use the artist for entertainment. And they don't let anything that the artist says affect their life. They will listen to that demon music and then go into the hedge fund office and raise $1 billion in a year because they looking at the rapper as an imbecile and as entertainment. Whereas we look at him as a role model, as an example, as motivation,
Yeah.
thug motivation, the
Yeah.
real testament, the blueprint. And so we listening to this stuff. Those all what I just said was album titles: Thug Motivation, The Real Testament, The Blueprint. And we're being imprinted with these messages of destruction
Yeah.
or confusion.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't move us forward. But when we really start to evaluate it, and one thing I've noticed, Caleb, is a lot of here recently, a lot of women have been reaching out to me for advice and insight on how to better raise their son, as a single mom, like what to instill and what to put in place with their son. And so I'm going to start a men's group where it only going to be like $10 a month, or a boys group where the moms and the dads who need that help will sign up and we do a monthly Zoom, and I'm going to have you on there, and then hopefully you find the capacity as well to start your own, and I come on as a guest for the community or the sector or the age group that you want to serve and support of men. And we put this together because it's an all-out attack. It's an all-out assault on the man in society
Yeah.
and starting in boyhood to
Yeah.
destroy us. And we see what's going on today.
Yeah.
So, man,
Yeah.
hey, thank you for this talk, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate the young man that sent the email. Appreciate you. Thank you for being vulnerable, and I hope that today's message you got something from it. Y'all feel free to send us more questions or comments at louderthanwordsmedia@gmail.com. Tony and I will answer it live like we did today. But again, just fellas, like stay encouraged, seek God first, man. Like I know the world tells us that money is the motive, money is the thing to go after, but money don't mean a thing, man. Like, just to end with, like, before 30, I made my first $1 million, and in that year was the most broken and lost that I've ever been in my life, because I had made the money my God, and it takes you nowhere. It's futile, it's useless, man. Really pursue purpose, so that way, whenever the money and the things do come, it's just a byproduct. You're not focused on that, trying to make that your self-worth. Like, man, is every this life that we live is short, man. Like, my goal is to leave this earth and die and know, okay, I serve the purpose that God put me on earth to do. And it ain't just about making money and being buff and bravado and being this macho man. It's about having a servant's heart. So, hey, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything shall be added unto you. So I appreciate y'all for tuning into this episode. We'll be back soon with another one. Much love. Peace.